Hey everyone, Chris Patterson here with you again for some more writing advice. We've been talking about how I do my plotting and my planning for my stories, and of course these work very well for me. So I would suggest that you at least give it a shot. Um, there's a lot of different ways out there to plot and plan as you're getting ready to write a story or a book, and so I would suggest that you do what works best for you. But I know that this works really well for me, and so just wanted to share that with you. In my last two videos, we learned that to start off with, you need to have the beginning and the end. Okay, you need to know the beginning and the end. And I did not put that in this Word doc just because we've talked about it so much. And then you need to understand the structure of most stories, a three-act story, and what happens in each act. Now, I like to use a plotting system that is created, and I say created loosely. I mean, a lot of this stuff has been done in the past. It's just people kind of hashing it out and making it their own. But by a screenwriter named Michael Hauge, and he has the six-stage plotting system, and it's worked out really well for me. One of the reasons why I like Michael Hauge's six-stage plotting system, and you can find a bunch of resources on the internet for his plotting system. But one of the reasons why I really like it is because not only does it break it down into three acts, and then it breaks it down into different stages within each act. So, right, two stages per act. But he also gives you some percentages, as you can see right here. If I highlight right there, you can see like this is what happens at 0 to 10%. And typically speaking, when I'm getting ready to start a story and I start plotting it out, this is kind of what it looks like. Now I've created the table so it makes it easier for me to show you, but this is really, what it looks like. I have the protagonist. I'll write in the supporting characters. We'll talk about those later. We'll write in the antagonist. And then I'll give myself, what is the summary and the problem, and then I'll start plotting it out. And you can see that there's these checkpoints: 0 to 10%, 10%, 10 to 25%, 25%, and in the next video I'll go over Act Two and what that looks like. So what I figured I would do is I would select two stories, Aladdin, right, and then the Princess Diaries. So two fairly different stories to just kind of show you how one might plot these out. If you were to have created Aladdin, what would that look like? So I have the summary of the problem here, right? And again, the protagonist, Aladdin, he is in his own element. Again, that's one of the things I really like about Michael Hauge is not only does he talk about the physical journey, but he talks about the mental and emotional journey. So Aladdin is comfortable with who he is, right? He's a homeless kid. A lot of people refer to him as a street rat. And so he has to steal in order to make ends meet, in order to eat. But we also see that he is super kind-hearted. Most people would recognize him as a good person. And there's this little inkling that he knows and realizes there is something bigger and better out there for him to do. Like he gets that he could be doing bigger and better things. At the same time, there's the evil wizard Jafar, who is trying to overthrow the Sultan of Agrabah. If we pop over here to Princess Diaries, again, what would the summary problem? And one of the reasons why I picked the Princess Diaries is because it's written in a very different. It's written as diary entries, and so you have the summary problem. Mia Thermopolis is a typical teenager who's a little clumsy. She has a flighty mom. In the summer, she goes to France to stay with her father and grandmother. She's pulled in different directions at school. She's got her friend Lily. who's like, she's the activist. She's got her father, who's the politician, which we eventually realize is actually the prince. Her mom, who is, very artistic, and so that is our problem. So as we start to plan these out, plot these out, let's do that together. So 0 to 10%, and what I typically do is, if I'm writing one of my epic fantasy novels, I say, okay, probably about 125 to 130,000 words, maybe a little more. The last one I wrote was about 145,000 words, so a little longer. And that equates to anywhere between, let's say, 60 to 80 chapters. Now, it depends on how long your chapters are. Most of my chapters are anywhere between, let's say, 2,500 to 5,000 words. Okay, so we'll say, 80 chapters. And so what I'll do is I will, on a separate document, and I use a program called Scrivener, which eventually I'll show you guys. It's an amazing program. I'll say, okay, chapters 1 through 8 are 10%. And of course, I'm not going to hold myself to that, because maybe it changes. Maybe some of the chapters are a little longer, but I just give myself kind of that basic format. So 0 to 10%, this is stage one, this is the setup. And the explanation there is the protagonist is fully in his identity, right? So Aladdin is in his identity as a homeless kid. He's not trying to change his life. Even if he feels like there's something wrong, right? He feels like he can do bigger and better things, but he's not trying to do anything yet. Oftentimes the protagonist may not realize something's wrong. So we see Aladdin in the streets. He steals fruit and runs from the guards. Thus, I'm going to put thief in quotations. Okay, so we have Aladdin. He's in the streets. He steals some fruit. He runs from the guards. We see that he's a homeless, quote unquote thief, and then we also see him give the piece of fruit to another homeless or hungry child. Okay, and that's that's pretty much the first 10% of the if you're watching the Disney the Disney cartoon or even the Disney movie, that's pretty much the first 10% of that movie. Now, if we go over to Princess Diaries, right? Again, it's a little harder to do because it's written in diary format, but we see Mia lamenting over typical teenage issues, her body, boys, her parents, school, her relationship with her mom is atypical, and her relationship with her father is strained, right? And we really see her in her natural element. And again, for Mia, even more so than Aladdin, she doesn't realize that there needs to be a change, right? She's at least we're led to believe that she's pretty comfortable in the position that she's in. She has a crush on. Okay, so at 10%, this is an opportunity, right? So, like any opportunity, your protagonist may not jump on that opportunity. Obviously, they're going to, because we have a story to tell. And so in Aladdin, now when I'm doing this, my opportunity, my 10% point, I typically write maybe 1 or 2 sentences, right? So the opportunity here is Aladdin saves the princess, Jasmine. Now that presents a new opportunity to Aladdin. You know, we could add in here Aladdin feels something for Jasmine, even though initially he doesn't realize she's a princess, um, and thus realizes even more that he can do more with his life. Okay. And then let's look at Princess Diaries. What happens with Princess Diaries is, you know, typically speaking, every summer she goes and visits her father and grandmother, but her grandmother comes to New York, and this was a wrench in her life. Okay. So in the Princess Diaries, the turning point, the opportunity is actually forced onto Mia. Again, very different, you know, that's why I use these two stories. Two very different situations where Mia is, I mean, we're at least led to believe that she's pretty comfortable with who she is. And then all of a sudden, something is kind of forced on her, where Aladdin, not so much, right? Aladdin is, you know, he's kind of actively seeking some sort of change. Okay, so the next 10 to 25%, Aladdin, and again, Aladdin is definitely a little more straightforward. So the next 10 to 25% in Aladdin, right? We see Aladdin really start to daydream about a new life. Then he is arrested for a spell crime he didn't commit, because Jafar needs I don't know if you remember this, the diamond in the rough to open the cave wonders, and find the lamp, although he doesn't know that he is looking for. And then, of course, he has an opportunity to get out of jail and is promised, promised, freedom, new life, etc. Okay, so all of a sudden, like the explanation is, the protagonist gets a glimpse of what life would be like. Let's spell that correctly. Would be like if he took the opportunity to act on it. So things start changing for him. And the case of Aladdin, I think, is such a good example, because in the case of Aladdin, at first, it's not very good, right? It's a bad change. He's arrested. He's stuck in there with a guy who's Jafar, disguised as an old man. He thinks that things are going to get really, really bad. And this life that he wants is now going away, but he then is given an opportunity to really, truly make a change. Now, for Mia in the Princess Diaries, we have her grandmother, right? Her grandmother comes to town, reveals she is a princess, and begins to put her through princess training. I guess that's what we'll call it. Right. Her grandmother is very different from anything in her typical life. And again, this is a situation where Mia is actually forced to change. Okay. Now, as we look at the very end of Act 1, this is a turning point. This isn't a point of no return. We're going to have a point of no return, but this turning point, it's got to be a kind of a climactic moment, right? The protagonist is going to suddenly change what they're doing. So for Aladdin, he finds the Cave of Wonders and then finds the lamp with genie in it, and the genie helps him escape. Right, and of course, this is gonna. I mean, this really does start Act Two. It's a pretty clear cut. Aladdin suddenly realizes, oh wow, with Genie in the lamp, I can be, I can be anyone I want. I can get the girl, Jasmine. So it's a very clear cut Act Two. Again, with Princess Diaries, and again, one of the reasons why um, I wanted to use it. Um, it's not as crystal clear. It does a really good job. Really, Meg Cabot, who is the author, does a really good job of kind of purposely muddling it up. And I think a lot of it has to do with just being a teenager or being a teenage girl in high school and dealing with the normal things that teenagers have to deal with. But so what happens with Mia? Mia finds herself stuck between her old life and her friend Lily, and a new life, and this is because her grandmother leaked her royalty to the paparazzi. And we'll say fake people who now want to be her friend. And in my opinion, this is really the beginning of Act Two in the Princess Diaries. So, anyways, in the next video, we're going to cover the Act Two, 25 to 75% of your story, and what that could possibly look like. Hopefully this helps. Like I said, this is pretty similar to what I do when I start plotting and planning. And then one of the things we'll do when we get through this is I'll kind of show you how I, write a summary for each chapter. And it might seem super extensive, but again, guys, as we talked about before, I really think that if you take the time to do this, and it does take time, you'll see your writing explode in a major way. So anyways, happy reading, happy writing. This is Chris Patterson again. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel. I hope this is helpful for you. And until next time,